We're starting off the year with a review of some Algebra 2 topics. Our vocab term for today is a reminder of order of operations. I know a lot of you learned order of operations as PEMDAS. It tends to confuse some students because there are 6 letters in PEMDAS, but only 4 steps in order of operations. The first step is not parentheses, it's grouping symbols. There are many different types of grouping symbols, and one that I want to point out in particular is the fraction bar. A lot of students don't recognize that as a grouping symbol. A fraction bar asks you to simplify what's in the numerator, grouping the numerator together, simplify what's in the denominator, or grouping the denominator together before you divide. The second step in order of operations is exponents and radicals. Third step is division and multiplication in order from left to right. And the last step is subtraction and addition in order from left to right. We're going to start off with our first example, substituting a value for x and then evaluating our expression. So we replace our x with 13 and then follow order of operations. We have grouping symbols inside the parentheses, so we'll subtract the 13 and the 3. Next we have exponents, so we'll raise that 10 to the second power. Multiplication comes before addition. And finally, 8 plus 600. The next thing we're going to look at are the different subsets of numbers. So all numbers that you work with on a regular basis are called real numbers. And we've got some descriptions in words, but if you scroll down, there's a nice visual that represents how the numbers are broken up and how they're related to one another. So we divide real numbers into 2 different groups, rational numbers, which can be written as a fraction, and irrational numbers, which are decimals that repeat. So for example, pi or the square root of 5 would be irrational. Integers, of course, are counting numbers, both positive and negative. Whole numbers are counting numbers starting at 0 and only positive, 0, 1, 2, 3, and then natural numbers do not include 0. If you scroll back up to the chart, you will see different symbols for each of those categories, as well as examples of numbers that fall into each category. We're going to practice grouping numbers or identifying which sets they fall into. Natural numbers do not include 0 and are positive counting numbers. So that would be the square root of 81 would be the only natural number because the square root of 81 simplifies to 9. Whole numbers include counting numbers and 0. Integers include positive and negative counting numbers. Rational numbers include fractions and decimals that terminate or end or repeat. So our list grows quite a bit on this one. And finally, irrational numbers. If the number is rational, it is not irrational. So that leaves us with, for this last one, the square root of 5 and pi. And then, of course, all of the numbers from our list are real numbers. We didn't have any imaginary numbers on our list. Finally, we're going to take a look at a formula. There's a lot of words on this page, but it's basically just explaining what the parts of the formula are. This formula is for the blood alcohol concentration, depending on your weight and how many drinks per hour that you have. In addition, it's giving us the legal driving limit, which is 0.08 or higher. That means if you have a blood alcohol concentration of 8% or more, it is illegal for you to drive in every state in our country. So using this formula, we're going to determine the blood alcohol concentration of a 150-pound person, so that is our weight, who has 3 drinks per hour. N is the number of drinks per hour. So to get that blood alcohol concentration, we substitute those values in. So 600 in our numerator times number of drinks per hour over the weight of the person times 0.6 times the number of drinks per hour plus 169. To evaluate this, I would simply punch these numbers into my calculator. When you do that, the only thing you need to be careful of is to tell the calculator to group this multiplication in the denominator. So you'll need an extra set of parentheses in the denominator. You will not need an extra set in the numerator. You could use it if you'd like, but order of operations, it will do the multiplication that will come first before it does the division. So that's already built into order of operations when you type in that multiplication sign before you type in the division sign. This gives us a blood alcohol concentration of 0.07. Technically, it would be legal for this person to drive. However, there are a lot of other factors that affect blood alcohol concentration, such as your gender and whether or not you've been eating or drinking water or non-alcoholic drinks. So it's always best, if you plan on having even one drink, to make sure that somebody else is driving once you turn 21 and it's legal for you to drink.